Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to ask question 126, 2017, standing to my name. The question is directed to the Attorney General and Minister for Economy, Public Enterprises, Civil Service and Communications. Access to climate change, climate finance is something Fiji and small vulnerable states have been trying to access for over a long period of time through the Conference of Parties, or COP. Just a week ago, we had the high-level Pacific Island Dialogue on building resilience to natural disaster and climate change. Can the Minister inform this House as in what ways can we gain access to climate finance? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Attorney General, Minister for Economy, Public Enterprises, Civil Service and Communications, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank the Honourable Member for this question. It is a very, very important question. Before I delve into some of the areas of accessing finance, Madam Speaker, the government believes, as do many other countries are now beginning to see, that climate finance actually equates to development finance. You cannot make that artificial distinction between climate finance and development finance, because the reality is, Madam Speaker, that any matter to do with adaptation, in particular for countries like Fiji with very low carbon footprint, actually is a development issue. Because adaptation means that you have an erosion of your infrastructure, essentially, because of the impact of climate change. So whether it is your roads, whether it is your bridges, whether it is the encroaching seas and therefore you need to build seawalls, whether it is to underground the cables, the electrical cables. So every time a cyclone comes, it does not get, the poles do not get blown down, you put it back up again, it gets blown down again. So we see climate finance as development finance. In terms of accessing this finance, Madam Speaker, as the Honourable Member has highlighted, that we've had this meeting that was held by IMF in respect of the accessing or the high-level Pacific Dialogue on building resilience to natural disasters. Building resilience, Madam Speaker, to natural disasters, of course, means having proper systems in place, having proper infrastructure in place, so that you do not get affected as much by climatic events. Climatic events, Madam Speaker, of course, as the Honourable Minister of Agriculture will tell you, can be an ongoing issue. It can affect the way that the seasons in which you now plant your seeds for agricultural purposes. It affects your rain patterns. Of course, it also means single climatic events, as we saw last year with Cyclone Winston, where these climatic events are becoming more erratic, more severe in the manner in which it now affects us. So all of these combined, Madam Speaker, means that we as countries that are vulnerable at the cold face of climate change, we need to be able to cater for this. We need to adapt to this. Adaptation, Madam Speaker, requires money. To give you a case in point, Madam Speaker, those people who've actually been to the highway that's built out of Nadi Airport, going toward Naisoso, and of course now going through Namaka and Matintar, one thing that's quite obvious is that there is no overhead cables. The electrical cables are all underground. The telecom cables are all underground. The water pipes, Madam Speaker, traditionally in Fiji when they built roads, they used to put the water pipes underneath the road. So every time there's a water leakage, you dig up the road, you fix up the pipe, but the road is not fixed. Or if there's a small leakage, nobody knows there's a leakage, the water keeps on spilling inside, underneath, the ground becomes soft, and we continue to get potholes. So, Madam Speaker, to be able to ensure that we can move these pipes to the side of the road, to get the underground cabling of the electrical cables, the telecom cables, puts an added cost to your bill. Cost in excess of about $20 million simply to do the electrical cabling. But the reality is, Madam Speaker, the next time there's a cyclone, there's no electrical cables to get blown down. In Cyclone Winston, 6,000 kilometers of electrical cables went down. 6,000 kilometers. It's a very large area. Now, we put all those electrical cables up. God forbid we have another cyclone next year. The cables will go down again. We'll build them up again. If we have another cyclone, go down again. We'll build it up again. So we need to be able to have a long-term goal. We need to be able to build that resilience into our infrastructure. So accessing, Madam Speaker, finance for these purposes, of course, is limited. The World Climate Finance, the pledge of $100 billion, as we see there's recently a stock take done. In fact, about 80% of those funds, Madam Speaker, are skewed towards mitigation, not adaptation. Mitigation is a lot more attractive. Mitigation attracts a lot more innovation, technological advances, scientific advances. So, for example, companies are now developed a lot of technology in respect of reducing their carbon footprint. But on the other hand, there's very little interest in adaptation finance. Adaptation finance, Madam Speaker, is generally seen as where the public sector or the public finances come into use. So it is a major challenge for all countries, in particular the small, vulnerable countries. They need to access finance to be able to build their resilience, to build what we call climate finance. So, Madam Speaker, the sources of funding, of course, are numerous. It can come from different sources. It can come from World Bank. It can come from ADB. It, of course, can also come from the Green Climate Fund. The Green Climate Fund was specifically set up for that. It's based in Korea. And recently, Fiji was the only, the first country to be able to access the Green Climate Fund for adaptation purposes, which is the Suvarnasori waterworks system. It's about a project worth about $300 million that is going to be implemented over a period of about 4 years or so. And $32 million of that, Madam Speaker, is coming by way of a grant from the Green Climate Fund. We're yet to be able to draw down those funds because you actually have to go through an approved, accredited agency by the GCF. And the accredited agency is the ADB. So we went through the ADB to be able to get this grant of $32 million. They have to sign a master agreement, and we hope they'll be doing it next 2 weeks so we can draw down upon the $32 million, Madam Speaker. So I'll stop my comments there. Thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary question, Honourable
The Honourable Minister advised the House in the last 3 years how much has Fiji successfully obtained for climate funding and for what programs, in addition to those 300 million that you've stated. So what's the total?
Thank you.
And for what
Honourable
programs?
Minister.
Okay. Question again, in the last 3 years, how much has Fiji successfully obtained for climate funding and for what programs? I know 300 million was for that waterworks, but what's the total? And for what programs?
So, Madam Speaker, it's not $300 million. $300 million is the total project cost, of which ADB is providing a loan. Of that $300 million, $32 million is coming through the Green Climate Fund. So it's what you call a blended finance approach. Blended finance means that you have different sources of funding to be able to complete the project. So if the Honourable Nawai Kula wants statistics on that, he can put a written question, we can give him the figures on that. Thank you.
Thank you.